Hello there. While eco-loons play their games with the traffic, the real truth about electric cars is coming out, and it's all being buried by the Truss saga. Now, if you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and then like and comment below. Now, if this one doesn't blow your stack, then nothing will. Once again, we're being misled by the professional liars in Westminster, the whole lot of them. Tories, Labour, Lib Dems, Greens, all of them. As well as by the eco-loons and by the independent press to boot. Net zero? Net zero? That's what will be left in your bank account by the time these power-mad WEF puppets are finished with you. Yes, they have a plan, and what a grotesque plan it is. The police stand idly by, making sure the eco-loons continue to block our streets totally undisturbed. While our political class is signing the country up to economically damaging net zero nonsense targets, yes, nonsense, as laid out in great detail by a report from a highly respected think tank. And this report has been out since the 10th of October, and the press has buried it. Not a peep from them. This report, authored by the respected Centre for Economic and Business Research, the CEBR, on behalf of Fair Fuel UK, the Alliance of British Drivers and the Motorcycle Action Group, lays out the pros and cons of replacing internal combustion powered cars with electric vehicles very clearly. I've left a link to the Motorcycle Action Group webpage where there's a link to the full report. Now, this report, Economic Impacts of the 2030 to 2040 Bans on the Sale of Fossil Fuel Vehicles, kicks the electric vehicle concept right in the fork. Because what they say is that between now and 2050 we'll benefit to the tune of 76 billion quid, but it will cost us 400 billion quid to get there. These costs are 5 times the benefits, even when using the government's own valuations of the environmental benefits, the report says. And it goes on to say that if they do manage to get all petrol and diesel cars off of our roads, it would reduce global carbon emissions by 0.2%. Now, the CEBR says it used government analytical methodological guidance in putting this report together. So if the government did decide to do a cost-benefit analysis of its own, then it would come to the same conclusions as the CEBR report, which says, whilst there may remain strategic reasons for implementing the ban, such as demonstrating the UK's commitment to achieving net zero by 2050, this regulatory policy should be seen primarily as one that reduces the welfare of UK citizens. Reduces our welfare. This basically means the political class is using our money to virtue signal to the world while reducing our standard of living, our independence and our bank balances. The eco-loons will be so pleased. And why was this report that cost many tens of thousands of pounds commissioned privately? Because the government hasn't done so. There is no government report, or if there is one, it's stamped top secret and stored deep under the Treasury under armed guard. And why? Because they know what the answers will be. It will be exactly the same as this CEBR report, meaning it would not fit in with the WEF UN eco-loon propaganda. And that would never do, would it? because it would also interfere with some very, very powerful vested interests. Isn't it strange that they scream at each other to prove everything with an impact report, except for the pandemic and now this? Why? And further, the report also says, even the overall environmental benefits are rather lower than might be assumed, since approximately 50% of any reductions in emissions from usage are likely to be offset by increased emissions in vehicle production. Yes, like all that mining for rare earth minerals and lithium and the like. And electric cars do not last as long as internal combustion engine cars. It also does not take into account the continued improvement in petrol and diesel fuel efficiency and exhaust cleanliness that can be achieved. And then there's the tax. Right now, people are attracted into owning electric cars because they're basically subsidised by the taxpayer. But once those petrol and diesel emissions charges, fuel duty and VAT disappear, new car taxes will appear and the real cost of electric cars will hit home and it'll be too late. And that's if you can find a place to charge them. And the average household will be impacted negatively to the tune of £1,000 a year between now and 2050, says the CEBR. All for that 0.2% negligible impact. And the rest of the world will look at how much we're spending on achieving diddly squat and say, that's not for us. Now for a bit of good news for the oldies amongst us. Unlike this year, Liz Truss stated clearly at PMQs today that the state pension triple lock will be respected next year. Now, there had been doubt about this, and people are now asking why she didn't declare this earlier. Well, that may have been down to the ONS publishing September's inflation figures today, showing that it stands at 10.1%. The same as in July, and only 0.2% above the August figure. And importantly, it is September's inflation figure that is used in the state pension increase formula for next May. Had it been higher than 10.1% last month, maybe the PM would not have made that statement. Who knows? Now on another topic, let's take a look at the First Minister of Wales, Mark Drakeford, when he's questioned on the performance of NHS Wales ambulance waiting times. And remember, NHS Wales is controlled by the Welsh Labour Party. Here's the man whose government thought baby milk and children's clothing wasn't an essential item during the early stages of the pandemic, whilst booze and fake eyelashes were.
It is absolutely shocking to me that you think that you can turn up here this afternoon with a mess that your party has made to the budget of this country, to the reputation of this country around the world, that you promise those people that there will be more to come, and you think you turn up here this afternoon and claim some sort of moral high ground? What sort of world do you belong in?
So, blaming Westminster as per usual. Now for a look at how the collapse of the Tory party might impact on the union of the United Kingdom. Over to you, Richard.
Thank you, Jeff, and good evening. Could it be that this Conservative government will be responsible for the breakup of the UK? With the possibility of the Tories coming behind the SNP in a general election, that would mean the SNP's voice would be louder in Parliament and across Scotland. That's how badly the Tories have fudged this. Or is this whole thing a deliberate act of self-sabotage for the nation? You see, any wavering independence voters would see Scottish MPs pushing their agenda in Westminster, adding gravitas to the independence movement, and a broken-up UK plays straight into the hands of Europhiles like Keir Starmer, because an independent Scotland would initially be reliant on someone, and who better than our friends in the EU? So expect an Indie Ref 2 from the next Labour government, And I can tell you now, all eyes in Wales and Northern Ireland will be firmly fixed on this new shift in power. Anecdotally, I have witnessed a surge in the Welsh independence movement, and, well, to be honest, who wants to be tethered to the Westminster Parliament that serves its WEF masters and does not serve the people of these isles? When it comes to independence, I have little faith, though, in the devolved parliaments filled with liberal left-wingers or unionist monarchists. Neither faction represents the libertarian in most of us. In Wales, we have parties like Propel, with great potential, but they are up against the corrupt Welsh media and political establishment. I keep returning to the same conclusion, and that is the democratic process is not the route to change. But full-scale non-compliance is, and no, I am not condoning it. I am just pointing out the facts because the ballot box led us to where we are now. And don't forget, in 2020, the government which was brought in via the ballot box the previous year imprisoned us in our own homes. And the devolved liberal left-wing governments were more enthusiastic in implementation of the draconian agenda than England. So imagine full-scale independence at the hands of idiots like Drakeford and Sturgeon who have become drunk on power. The Tories have failed and Labour are about to enter government, leaving a power vacuum on the opposition benches, ready to be filled with the liberal left-wing nationalists. If the UK faces a split, then the people need to think if they will remain loyal to the respective nations and comply, or if they will say no more, unless the woke left is voted out of any devolved nation. And that would be a promising future if new parties gain traction in Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. Oh, and England, of course. Anyway, back to Jeff.
Thank you for that one, Richard. And finally, when subscribing, please don't forget to press that little bell and also select the all option, or you won't get any notifications when I publish a new video. And thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the show.